Hello, welcome to Transfer News Live. I'm Statman Dave, and this is the Scout Report, the number one place for player and team analysis on the biggest transfers in Europe. Today, we're starting with a pretty big one, Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. I want you to get into the comments below and let me know which players Man United should sign this summer. We're going to be talking goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and of course, attackers. Manchester United have struggled this season, and we're going to do the rebuild right now. If you are new around here, make sure you subscribe to Transfer News Live, and of course, let's get this party started. So Manchester United have struggled under Ruben Amorim, especially in the Premier League. I want to bring back a David Moyes quote. Manchester United must improve in a number of areas, including passing, creating chances, and defending. And that is quite apparent, hence why I think this rebuild job is so big. So let's dive straight into the tactics. Ruben Amorim will continue with his 3-4-2-1 structure. Yes, there's slight tweaks in certain games to change the attacking or defensive structure, but overall, this will be the system we're looking at today. So let's start in between the sticks. Manchester United thought they'd signed the one in Andre Onana from Inter Milan, but it's been a bit of a problem with his performances. If we look at the statistics, Andre Onana has made 6 errors leading to shots in both of his 2 seasons at Manchester United. You go back to the previous 4 league campaigns in Holland and in Italy, he had 4 combined. And that is affecting his confidence when we look at numbers such as save percentage or post-shot expected goals. Both have dropped at Manchester United. Confidence is a big thing with a defence. And if your goalkeeper is letting shots in that he shouldn't, that is a real concern. I think on top of that, Andre Onana was signed for his ball-playing ability. And quite frankly, we've not seen that at Manchester United. Those passes into midfield, to break the lines, to be composed. If you look at his long pass accuracy, actually it's the worst of his career, showing that Andre Onana really needs to start improving himself. And that is why, first and foremost, Manchester United this summer should be looking for a goalkeeper. I don't think this is the priority versus an attacker or an attacking midfielder, but I think this is an area that needs to be addressed. So in terms of options on the market, I think there's one that's a bit of a standout in terms of youth and one that could bring experience. So first and foremost, let's talk about Joan Garcia. The Espanyol goalkeeper has been doing really well in La Liga this season, leading the competition for post-shot expected goals numbers, saves and crosses claimed, all statistics that you want a goalkeeper to be good at. So in looking at Joan Garcia from a footballing perspective, he does keep things quite simple, usually feeding the ball to the centre-backs to allow them to play the passes forward. And this is something that worked very well for Manchester United under Amorim. Amorim doesn't need a true playmaker as a goalkeeper, but more a player that just keeps things moving on, but can make saves. When I look at someone like Joan Garcia, it reminds me quite a lot of Unai Simon, the Spain goalkeeper. He's very clean in his goalkeeping. He catches the ball a lot, makes good saves across his body using both of his hands. So I think this could be a good option, but the biggest thing with this, the reported fee is between 20 and 30 million euros. For a keeper of big potential, I think that is great business for Manchester United. But if that's not the case, Manchester United should get a seasoned goalkeeper, and I think you couldn't look further than Milinkovic-Savic once again, could be acquired for less than 20 million euros, but is dominant. 6'7", Serbian, aggressive, powerful. He's a keeper that I really like, that's very imposing. When you look at Manchester United's team at times, they look a bit frail at the back. They look like there's not a leader in there to really step out and be aggressive. And that is where Milinkovic-Savic could really fit a number of problems. You know, number one, that leadership quality, but also from a goalkeeping perspective, ranks 3rd in Europe's top 5 leagues for post-shot expected goals. Why that's an important statistic is because it analyses the opposition shots and basically judges whether the keeper should have made the shot or not. And when you've got positive numbers in that statistic, it means you're having a very, very good season. That's exactly what Milinkovic-Savic has done. So I think in terms of the players that I'd probably look to get in, Joan Garcia would be the first option, Milinkovic-Savic would be the backup, and again, you'd be forcing Andre Onana back to the top level. Anyway, enough about goalkeepers, let's move into defence. Amorim's back 3 consists of 2 ball-playing outside centre-backs that are really key in terms of the side's progression, and 1 dominant stopper defender that's job is basically to win aerial duels, to be aggressive and sit in the middle and be that kind of defensive stability. So in terms of Manchester United, I think looking at the back 3, there could be room for improvement. Starting as a player that I think will definitely be in the first team next season and will command the position for a lot of years at Manchester United, of course, is Lenny Yoro. He's improved in terms of his defending. I think he struggled first with dynamic fast wingers when he first came to the Premier League, but has been using his arm well, has been dueling quite well, and then we've seen some good improvement there. I think as well, from a carry perspective, he's got good quality carrying the ball out. Quite a skillful player, considering his height is a really good thing long term. I think one area of improvement for Lenny Yoro, of course, is those progressive passes. So important as a ball-playing defender for Amorim's side is being that guy that's going to break the lines and play through the pressure. So Lenny Yoro could work on that. Of course, Lisandro Martinez on the other side has been really good under Amorim so far, playing those passes kind of into midfield, bouncing off, receiving again, even scoring goals and getting assists. Unfortunately, though, he'll be injured until 2026. So I think when you look at the United squad, potentially a left-sided centre-back could be recruited, or Man United continue with Aiden Heaven. I've been so impressed watching Heaven, especially against Real Sociedad in the Europa League. I thought not only was he very good with his long and medium range passing, I thought he was fantastic carrying the ball out and shows a real level of composure. Of course, he came through at Arsenal as a central midfielder, so these are natural things for him. And I think in a back three, and not in a back two, or a back four, should I say, I think it suits his game a lot more. I'm excited to see his development. I think until Lisandro Martinez comes back, Heaven should take that spot. In terms of the centre-back, of course, Matthijs de Ligt could play that role, but Manchester United have one of the best attacking centre-backs in the world of football in Harry Maguire. Right wing, left wing, striker. Maybe Harry Maguire would solve a lot of other problems. I do jest, though. I jest. Harry Maguire is quite suited to this centre-back role and position. But I do think Manchester United need to look for the next kind of stage of their development. Harry Maguire is starting to suffer more injuries. He's missed around 8.8 games due to injury at Manchester United so far. So another option in that position could be good. And I think when you look at the market, Man United need to be smart. So you mentioned the cheapness of the two goalkeepers we were looking at. 20 to 30 million euros, or even less than 20 million euros from Milinkovic-Savic. United needs to be so much better in the free market. You know, that could be looking at players like Jonathan David, but more importantly, why not buy a player that has been so successful in the same system? Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen very much play a 3-4-2-1. The centre-back has a very similar role to Amorim's side. It's a player that's quite aggressive, has to be a stopper defender, but has also got to cover his teammates in behind. And that guy would be Jonathan Tah. I think he's a player that would really evolve United's back three, not only from a defensive sense, covering his teammates in the penalty area, but also being super dominant. He's a player that's really grown through the years. He's always had potential. He's always been that kind of centre-back I've been watching, but now at 29 years old, it feels like he's got that experience. That kind of Virgil van Dijk mentality of making the attacker having to make decisions before reacting to it and making the correct decision, dropping off, slowing them down, basically forcing him to think a bit more before winning the ball. On top of that, he is super dominant from aerial situations. Another thing we mentioned before, when those long balls come up, Jonathan Tah ranks in the top 4% of centre-backs in Europe's top 5 leagues. I just think he's very good. Not only that, he's got the ability on the ball, and in that centre-back position, you either want the long switches out wide to both of the wing-backs, or you want a player that retains possession. And if we look at the statistics on Wyscout, Jonathan Tah ranks number 1 for passes into the final third, but also pass completion rate. The exact thing that you want in this centre-back position. I think it makes a lot of sense. Signing him on a free transfer would allow United to spend money elsewhere, and it would give United a top-quality defensive line. We're talking the likes of Matthijs de Ligt, Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro, Heaven. That is the start of a real top-quality defence. And I think United do need 6 centre-backs if they want to compete into two competitions, which, again, they want to do next season. So let's move into midfield. I think, first and foremost, it's a very easy position to talk about one guy, and that is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes has been great for Manchester United under Ruben Amorim. Only 5 players in Europe's top 5 leagues have been directly involved in more goals than Fernandes in 2025. That is ridiculous for a player that has played central midfield as well as attacking midfield. He has been so good. So keeping him within the squad, he's definitely going to be here next season. There's going to be no bids from Saudi that are going to be accepted. So Bruno Fernandes will be there. I think in terms of his partner, in these maybe in the bigger games or in games where United need an extra kind of defensive player in there, Manu Ugarte is probably world class when it comes to winning the ball back. Tackles and interception numbers have been fantastic at Manchester United, but also, he's been really key in jumping at the right time and turning the ball over. That being said, I think there's, holes in his game in terms of his passing could definitely be kind of improved when we're looking at his range to find his teammates. He does keep things quite simple and is susceptible to a little bit of pressure. So I think when looking at the squad, adding depth in central midfield is definitely something Manchester United should do. And when looking at a player that would be a little bit more complete in that sense, because I think Bruno's kind of the playmaker, right? He's the guy that's going to get on the ball, make things happen. Ugarte is the ball winner within the side. So having someone that could be a box-to-box midfielder, I think naturally would make sense for Manchester United. And again, I'd look no further than Ederson, a player that I've watched for a number of years now that's really improved this season and is truly kind of complete. He's a 7 out of 10 in most aspects of playing in central midfield. You can defend his penalty area well, he's good in midfield, and he's good going forward. So I think he could be a really good asset for Manchester United. So let's dive into what Ederson could bring Manchester United from a tactical perspective. As we mentioned previously, he's very well-rounded. He's more offensive than Ugarte. You'd say he's a little bit more physical than Maino, and he's more defensive than Bruno Fernandes. Having played within a back three system, he kind of understands his role to stay in the pivot position and then bounce passes, receive back, and then play forward. He's a metronomic type of player that can get on the ball, move it, get on the ball, move it, get into the final third. I like how he attacks the box as well, and one of the bigger things that have really improved this season especially is ability on the carry. We're seeing a lot more of his Brazilian nature, that little flick inside, driving through, creating opportunities. And I tell you what, if you want to look at one goal that he scored this season, go take a look at his goal against Barcelona. A cracked shot from the edge of the box after beating pressure with a dribble. On top of that, he's got real speed and physicality that would allow him to deal with the pressure of the Premier League, that kind of back-to-goal play. He's got the strength to hold off the opposition, to allow him to be that kind of bounce pass option. But also I really like his reaction when his team loses the ball. He's a player that's really good at kind of getting back and tracking the opposition and making big slide tackles in and around the penalty area. I think overall he's not as defensive as Ugarte, maybe not the playmaker that Bruno Fernandes is, but he fills that box-to-box role in Man United's squad. So let's move on to talk wing-backs, a vital position in Amorim's 3-4-2-1, an area where Manchester United have started to see a bit of quality. Dorgu and Amad Diallo would probably be the starting two right now. I think the big thing when you're looking at the wing-backs for an Amorim system and side, they need to be arguably wingers versus defenders, and that is where Amad has absolutely excelled. His ability to carry on the outside, the inside, create goals, score goals, he has been sublime for Amorim's Manchester United. I think when it comes to Dorgu on the other side, there's more to come. I think we've started to see the improvements and the confidence. The big thing at Lecce is he was an elite level ball carrier. Like I'm talking like one of the best defenders in Europe, and we're just not seeing that confidence yet truly at Manchester United. And at 20 years old, I think there's still a lot to come from Dorgu. He's a signing for the future. And a player as well that I think might be more capable of playing on the kind of right-hand side versus that left-hand side. But I think that should give United a lot of flexibility. This is something that Amorim did at Sporting Club de Portugal. Quenda and Catamo on either flank, both left-footed, both would interchange positions depending on the game state, depending on where they were, depending on how they were beating their opposition fullback. So I think that is definitely an option. Dorgu playing on the right, Amad playing on the left, and vice versa. But I think if we're looking at Amad Diallo, he's been so good going forward. Why would you not want him in one of those attacking midfield positions, which opens up an area that Manchester United need to recruit for? And there is one super obvious option. This is the most obvious thing, with a release clause of around £35 million, played for a team that went unbeaten in a Bundesliga season. Yes, we're talking about Jeremy Frimpong, a player that is elite going forward, a player that can hold the width by himself, a player that can provide an attacking element by himself on the right flank, that truly is a winger. When we look at his stats versus defenders in Europe's top 5 leagues since the start of last season, he has scored more goals than any other defender in those positions. So when you're looking at it for Manchester United, not only provide the width, but it'll also provide quality in the final third. So let's take a look at how Jeremy Frimpong will fit into Manchester United's system. Very much, he is a wing-back that operates as a winger. His position is usually very, very high. Not only will this create more space for the player that plays inside of him, in that kind of attacking midfield zone, but it allows United to really get good crosses and passes into the penalty area. Frimpong's good at receiving and then carrying at his opposite number, but he's also very good at getting the ball into the penalty area from deep zones. He's got a lot of quality in terms of his crossing, which should add a bit to Manchester United's attack. I also like him as kind of a last line runner. That being said, let's say if the ball's in midfield with Bruno Fernandes, maybe Ahmad's dropped in to get involved with the possession. I really like Frimpong either making runs on the inside of the defender or more naturally on the outside, spinning in behind. It's a really good asset for him. He's one of the fastest players in European football, and you combine that with the passing range of Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United should be creating a really good quality chance. So now our team is starting to look like a team that could truly compete in the Premier League, but I think there's still room for improvement. That's where I see Manchester United now. Obviously, United have got a few attackers in there, the likes of Alejandro Garnacho, that's had a really good season and developed well under Amorim so far. Then you've got the likes of Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, but I do think that forward line needs to be refreshed. So let's talk options. I think number one into a attacking midfield, looking at Matheus Cunha would be very, very smart. A player that has that quality to really unlock the door for Manchester United. A player that could evolve the attacking lineup. On top of that, I think when you look at what he could do within the shape and system, it's very impressive. Under Vitor Pereira this season, he's played again in the same system. Why I think it's quite important to sign players that have played within a back three system and setup is it's because it's quite unique in certain attributes. You know, the midfielders are different, the attacking midfielders have to play different and so forth. So I think Matheus Cunha would be a great option for Manchester United. Matheus Cunha is a very complete attacking midfielder, a player that's capable of dropping off the line and then making things happen. Be it a carry before getting a shot away, be it a long-range shot, looking to kind of trouble the keeper from range, or looking for a through ball for an attacker to get in behind. He does his best work in zone 14. That's the area just outside the box. This is where he is truly elite and where it adds a lot to Manchester United's attack. In fact, if we look at the stats from this season, Matheus Cunha has 15 non-penalty goals. That's only been beaten 3 times since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. And adding real quality to that area outside the box will improve United's attack tenfold. Right, so let's move into the forward line. Time to get a little bit greedy. So if Manchester United want a truly elite level striker and don't care about how much they're going to pay him per week, Victor Osimhen is the number one option. Combines movement with goal scoring, with reactions, but also super dominant in the air. During his 3 seasons at Napoli, only Harry Kane scored more goals in Europe's top 5 leagues with his head. Osimhen would instantly improve Man United, but the fee and also his wages could be a stumbling block. And I think United, once again, we need to be good in the market. That's something that I've said consistently throughout this video. Find the bargains. And when a player like Liam Delap has got a relegation release clause, you've got to look at him. He's a player that is a power forward that suits Amorim's philosophy and style, but also has scored goals for an Ipswich side that's averaging around 40% possession. The effectiveness of Liam Delap, not only in open play, but also on the counter-attack, has been really good. He scored 10 goals, non-penalty this season, 4 of which have come on the break. He is feeding off scraps and doing very, very well. And yes, we are going to get super greedy right now. We're going to throw Amad Diallo to left wing back, I think a position that he could play. And Bryan Mbeumo also comes in. This is less of a smart option. This is more of a fun option. Bryan Mbeumo reportedly available for £60 million. I think Manchester United should be smart with this. And Mbeumo's contract expires next summer. They do have an option to extend the contract for a further year. But I think United should be dealing with Mbeumo next season versus this season. But that forward line could be very, very exciting. Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo an attacking midfield and Delap as that power forward through the middle. I think that adds a lot to United's attack, but I think one of the most important things that United kind of struggle to do is just shoot the ball. And when you've got players like Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha that are both threats from range, it'll give United's attack so much more, knowing that they could shift the ball quickly to Cunha in between the lines, crack shots on goal, but also from Bryan Mbeumo, who's very good coming inside on his right foot and curling it to the far post. Of course, Mbeumo scored 18 goals in the Premier League this season. That is very, very good. And having a front three of dynamism, of ability to go both sides, to create, to score, would improve United's woeful goal-scoring numbers over the last 18 months. So in conclusion, Manchester United need a big summer to address a lot of problems. I think the squad is slowly getting to a good spot with a lot of depth in different positions. I think there's a good number of young players coming through right now. We'll probably have one more year of Casemiro, the likes of Mason Mount, Kobbie Mainoo into that forward line area, and of course Chido Obi can supplement the attack. Manchester United are slowly building to a position where they need to be. That, of course, is a team that's going to compete for the title. That's where Man United want to be. I've given you some good options here, some cheap options, some options with release clauses that United could definitely activate. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below. What do you think of my final squad that Manchester United could build for the 25-26 season? I've been Statman Dave on Transfer News Live. Of course, if you are new around here, smash that subscribe button. The Scout Report will be here every single week, so don't miss out. See you later.